So, is Gemini really going to replace software tutorials? Now, you may have seen videos going around where people are claiming that AI will change the way you learn technology or eliminate the need to make how-to videos altogether. And okay, I'll admit it, I'm guilty of making videos about that very topic. Hey, at least I'm being honest here. But today, I'm putting Gemini AI to the test to see if it really can replace software tutorials by giving it a more complicated, not so generic, real-world task. I'm going to ask Gemini to show me how to build an Excel dashboard that uses two data lists as the source. They need to be connected in Power Pivot, then create 3 pivot tables with corresponding charts, all with a layer of interactivity. However, in full disclosure, I've actually made a full tutorial showing you how to do this very task, and we'll link it in the description. What you're about to watch is the real-time conversation with Gemini. The only edits I've made were to cut out long pauses. Throughout the video, I'll be adding in some brief commentary, and at the end, let you know the full story behind the making of this video. So here we go. Let's find out if indeed Gemini can build this Excel dashboard. Hey Gemini, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How can I help you?
Can you see my Excel spreadsheet?
Yes, I can see your Excel spreadsheet. It appears to have columns for order ID, product category, product subcategory, region, state, customer order date.
Yes, that's correct. Do you happen to see both the sheets, the orders and the customers by chance?
Yes, I can see both the orders and customer sheets in your Excel workbook.
Okay. So do you mind if I tell you what I'm looking to accomplish to save us some time?
Yes, please tell me what you're looking to accomplish. I'm ready to help.
Okay. So my boss gave me this task. He asked me to connect these two lists and build 3 pivot tables from those connected lists. And those connected lists are, I guess he said, the data source or something like that. I've never done that before.
Okay.
So do you know how to do that?
Okay, you've never done that before. Do you need help with connecting the two lists and building the pivot tables?
Yes.
Okay, I can help you with that. Let's start with connecting the two lists. Would you like a detailed explanation of the steps, or should we go step by step?
Can you give me an overview?
Okay, here is a brief overview. Connecting the two lists typically involves using a function like VLOOKUP or index match to bring data from one list into the other based on a common identifier, and then you can create your 3 pivot tables using the data in the connected lists.
Oh, okay. Let me stop you right there. He's not a big formula type person. Instead, he wanted me to use something called Power Pivot. Do you know how to use that?
So instead of using formulas, your boss wants you to use Power Pivot. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I can help with that. Power Pivot is a great tool for connecting data and building pivot tables. Would you like an overview of how Power Pivot works, or should we go step by step?
Let's go step by step because I kind of think I know what it does, but I'm really pressed for time and need to get this finished as soon as possible.
Okay, we can definitely go step by step to make sure you are comfortable with Power Pivot. We can also move quickly. Let's start with loading the data into Power Pivot. Can you tell me if both your data tables are already in the same Excel workbook?
Well, I have 2 lists. Can I use those, or what do you mean tables? I don't understand.
Apologies for using the term tables. You are correct, you have 2 lists. To use Power Pivot, we will need to load those lists as tables. Are your 2 lists on separate sheets, or are they on the same sheet?
They're on the same sheet.
Okay.
Excuse me. No, I'm sorry. They're on separate sheets. Excuse me. One order sheet and one customer sheet.
Okay, no problem. Since they are on separate sheets, that makes it easier to load into Power Pivot. Are you ready to move on to loading the data?
Yeah, man.
Okay, let's load the data into Power Pivot. First, we need to convert your lists into tables by clicking anywhere inside one of your data lists and pressing Ctrl+T. Then click OK in the Create Table pop-up. Repeat for the other list.
Okay.
Then you can move forward.
So I just press Ctrl+T.
Okay.
And you want me to click OK, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Press Ctrl+.
So,
okay. Now you have...
Go ahead.
Okay, now you have a table. Now we need to load this table into Power Pivot. Can you please navigate to the Power Pivot tab?
Hold on.
It might be under Data.
1 second. I only did one of these lists. You want me to do the same on the other list, the customers list?
You are absolutely correct. You need to do the same for the other list on the customer sheet.
Okay.
Click inside the data in the customer sheet and then press Ctrl+T and then OK.
Okay. So now I have both these table thingies. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm sorry, what do I
Now
do
that
now?
okay, now that we have both of your lists formatted as tables, we can load them into Power Pivot. Can you click on the Data tab in the ribbon at the top of the Excel window?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Now in the Data tab, can
Mhm.
you click on the From Table/Range button? It's in the Get and Transform Data section on the left of the ribbon.
So, well, wait a minute. What? I don't understand. Can't I just click on the Power Pivot tab directly? Is there a reason I'm going into this like Power Query editor thing? At this point, Gemini decided to go on strike and disconnect the session. So I started a new one to see if I could explain to Gemini what happened and to see if it could pick up where it left off. Hey, Gemini, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How can I help you today?
Hey, listen, you were just helping me a couple seconds ago, and apparently something went wrong, so I had to restart my session. What was happening was
Okay,
this. Hold on, let me explain to you, please. I had created,
sure.
you asked me to create two tables using my Excel lists, of which I've done, and now I'm trying to put them into Power Pivot. Power Pivot is
So,
on my computer, and my boss, just to understand as a refresher, my boss wants
so
me
you
to,
created two tables.
yeah, let me finish, please. So my boss asked me to connect these two lists table thingies and build three pivot tables. So I think I was just getting ready to put this into PowerPoint. Excuse me, not PowerPoint, Power Pivot. Can you help me with that, please?
So your boss wants you to connect two lists to build three pivot tables in Power Pivot. Is that correct?
That sounds about right.
Okay. How can I assist you with that?
Well, you should see my screen, and there are two sheets, orders and customers, and they're both tables from what I understand. So from the last time I was speaking with you, you said I had to go into Power Pivot or something about the data tab or something like that. Can you help me connect these two lists using Power Pivot, please?
Yes, I see that you have two worksheets, orders and customers.
Mm-hmm.
You would like to link the data from these two worksheets using Power Pivot. Is
Yes,
this correct?
that sounds about right.
Okay, I can help with that. Do you want me to walk you through the steps or give you more of an overview?
No, I'm kind of pressed for time, so I'd like to just go right into Power Pivot. I think I can kind of get my mind around it. So if you could just help me build these pivot tables, that would be great.
Okay, let's start with building the pivot tables.
Okay.
To do this, you'll need to create relationships. First, click on the Power Pivot tab. Then, you need to select Manage. In the new window, choose Diagram View, and then you will be able to drag the fields to create the relationship. Would you like me to elaborate on any of these steps?
Nah, I'll follow your steps. So I'll click on Power Pivot, and then you want me to click on Manage. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay,
After clicking on,
I'm clicking on Manage.
okay, I see you have clicked on Manage.
Okay.
Now you need to select Diagram View.
Okay. Let's get in there.
All right. I see that you are now in Diagram View.
Okay.
Now you can drag the customer ID field from the customers table to the customer field from the orders table. This will create the relationship between those two tables.
I don't see the tables. Where are they? How'd I get them?
I can see your screen and I see a blank canvas in Diagram View. On the top of the screen, in the ribbon, can you click From Other Sources?
Yeah. As you just heard, Gemini decided to hang up on me again, so I started another session. This time around, I mentioned to Gemini the system had shut down and then gave Gemini a recap of the events along with explaining the end goal. Hey, Gemini, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How can I help you?
I'm going to jump over to my Excel spreadsheet, if that's okay by you.
Yes, that is perfectly okay. Let me know if you need anything once you're in Excel.
I do. Do you mind if I give you an update as to what's been happening?
No, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Please feel free to give me an update on what's been happening.
So I had a couple sessions with you, and it seemed like you would kind of shut down. So I had to restart it a couple times. Do you mind if I give you the backstory as to what's going on and where I was in accomplishing this task?
Okay, it sounds like you've had some issues with the system shutting down and had to restart a couple times. I'm ready for the backstory and to hear more about what was going on.
Okay, so real quick, I had two Excel lists that my boss asked me to connect and build pivot tables from. So I had list one and list two. They had to be connected. And then from those connected lists, I had to build three pivot tables. So when I was speaking with you, I was able to do something called creating a table. Okay. And then,
Okay, so you had
one
two
second.
Excel lists that you need.
Yes, 1 second. I'm not done. So I had two Excel lists that I needed to connect. And that's kind of where we are. So can you help me to, well, full disclosure, I did try to get into something called Power Pivot, but that's kind of where things fell apart. So I figured I'd back up a little bit and try again. So here's where we stand. I have two lists and I want to try to connect them. And my boss wants me to use something called Power Pivot. Can you help me with that, please?
Okay, so it sounds like you have two Excel lists you need to connect, and your boss wants you to use something called Power Pivot. Is there anything specific you'd like help with regarding those steps?
Well, when I was interacting with you, you had me convert these tables to, you had me convert these lists to tables. And then you said something about connecting them, which is what my boss wants me to do. So in summary, my boss asked me to connect these two lists using Power Pivot and build pivot tables from them. So can you help me with that, please?
Yes, I can certainly help you with that. It sounds like you need to convert your lists into tables within Excel and then connect them using Power Pivot so you can create pivot tables. Is that a correct summary of the tasks?
Correct. You had already helped me convert the lists into tables. So now I have two tables and I want to connect them into Power Pivot or connect them through Power Pivot.
Okay.
I'm not sure the exact terms. And yes, as you may have guessed, Gemini did hang up on me once again. So I figured, let's give it another go. Hey, Gemini, are you there?
I'm doing well, thank you for asking. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Hey, listen, you've been helping me with a couple things here, and the session has shut down a few times. So do you mind if I give you a summary of what I'm trying to do and accomplish?
Sure, I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Please go ahead and give me a summary of what you're trying to do and accomplish. I'm
Okay.
ready when you are.
Okay, so my boss gave me two lists, and they asked me to create pivot tables from both these lists. So I guess these lists have to be connected. And they wanted me to use something called Power Pivot. So 1 second. So you asked me to convert the lists to tables, of which I've done. And now I need to connect these lists in something called Power Pivot. Can you help me with that?
Okay, so your boss gave you two lists and asked you to create pivot tables from them using Power Pivot. It also sounds like you've converted the lists to tables already. Now you need help connecting the lists using Power Pivot. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, I understand. I can help you with that. First, could you tell me what version of Excel you're using?
I'm using the latest Office 365. If you see my screen, you should also see the Power Pivot tab there.
Okay, since you're using the latest version of Office 365, you should have the Power Pivot tab.
Mm-hmm.
To start, can you click on the Power Pivot tab at the top of your screen?
Yes.
Great. Now click on the Manage button within the Power Pivot tab. This will open the Power Pivot window where we can begin connecting your lists.
Okay.
Now the Power Pivot window is open,
1
you
second.
should see the two tables.
Hold on. You're getting ahead of me. Okay.
Okay,
so
no problem.
The Power Pivot window is open, and I do not see any tables. In the last session, you wanted me to click on Diagram View. Should I do that?
Yes, that is correct. Since you don't see any tables, try clicking on Diagram View.
Okay. Still don't
After
see.
you click Diagram,
still don't see any tables.
Okay, I see. Even after clicking Diagram View, you still don't see any tables.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the Excel sheet then. Can you click on the Data tab at the top of your screen in the Excel worksheet?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm there.
Now, can you click? Okay, great. Now, please click on the From Table/Range button in the Get and Transform Data section. This will allow us to import the tables into Power Pivot.
So wait a minute. Why do we have to import the tables if they're already here? Can't we just work with what we have?
That's a valid question. While the data is visible in the Excel sheet, Power Pivot needs to have its own copy of the data to work with. Importing them as tables makes them available to Power Pivot. Does that clarify why?
Yeah, but isn't there like another way? For example, if I'm on this Power Pivot tab, there's something called adding to data model. What's that do?
You're right, there is another way. The Add to Data Model button in the Power Pivot tab also imports the data into Power Pivot. However, the From Table/Range button in the Data tab does a few things automatically, like formatting the data as a table first. Using From Table/Range can help avoid some potential issues later on.
Well, I've already created my table, so isn't that a little unnecessary step in this case?
You're correct that if you've already formatted your lists as tables, then using the From Table/Range button might seem redundant. Since you've already done that, go ahead and click the Add to Data Model button within the Power Pivot tab.
Okay, I'm doing that.
Okay, now you should see your tables in the Power Pivot window. Is that correct?
I see one table in the diagram view. What do I do to get the second one? Do I have to do the same thing?
Yes, that is correct.
All
You'll
right.
need to do the same thing for the second table.
All right, let me
Go back to the Excel sheet, click.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. And there you go. Gemini decided to go home. And I did laugh about it. So I figured, let's give it another go. Hey, Gemini, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How can I help you?
All right, cool. So here's the deal. I've been talking to you and I keep getting shut off. So
Okay.
so let me bring you up to speed. I was in the middle of trying to connect some tables into Power Pivot. So I added both my lists into Power Pivot and I had to connect them. So do you see my screen with Power Pivot on it?
Thanks for the update. You were trying to connect some tables in Power Pivot, and you've added your lists and now need to connect them. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else I can help you with regarding that?
Well, I have to build 3 pivot tables from these lists. So I think the boss wants me to kind of like connect a list in somehow. How do I do
Got
that?
it. You are trying to figure out how to connect the lists to create 3 pivot tables. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, you'll need to create relationships between the tables using the diagram view in Power Pivot. Do you see that option?
Well, I'm in diagram view. So how do I create a relationship? What do I do?
Okay, you'll want to drag a field from one table to the corresponding field in another table. That'll create the relationship. Do you see the fields you want to link?
Well, I don't know what fields to link. Which ones should I use? Because I've got a bunch of them to choose from. Does it matter?
The common field between both tables is customer ID. Try linking those together.
So you want me to click and drag them from one to the other? Does it matter which way I go?
It doesn't matter which way you drag as long as you are dragging from the customer ID field in one table to the customer ID field in the other table.
Okay, I just did that. So now I have a line connecting them.
Great. Now you can build your pivot tables. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, how do I build my pivot tables from here?
Sure. Now that your tables are related, you can go to the Insert tab, click Pivot Table, and then choose From Data Model. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't see an insert tab. I see a pivot table tab. Where's the insert tab?
My apologies. The Insert tab is in the Excel ribbon, not in the Power Pivot window.
Okay. Can I close out of this Power Pivot window? Is that okay if I do that?
Yes, it is okay to close the Power Pivot window now that you have linked the tables.
Okay. So now I'm back in Excel, and you said something about insert.
Yes, go to the Insert tab in the Excel ribbon and click on Pivot Table, then select From Data Model.
Okay. And I'll put that on a new worksheet. Is that okay?
Yes, putting the pivot table on a new worksheet is a good idea.
Okay. So on the right, it says table 1 and table 2. So do you mind if I tell you what pivot tables I need to build?
Yes, please do. I'm ready to help you with that.
Okay. I have to build 3 pivot tables and then actually build charts for them. So the first one I have to make is that the boss wants to see the devices and the total sales. So should I expand my tables out or what should I do?
Okay, for that first pivot table, expand the table 2 and drag device used to the rows area, and then expand the table 1 and drag sales amount to the values area. This will show the sum of sales for each device.
All right, cool. Well, that was easy. So I have my second pivot table for you. Do you mind if I tell you what I want? So let me give you the backstory to this video without being too long-winded. As I set out to record the video, I played dual roles the entire time. The first role was someone who had no clue what to do, while at the same time provided coaching to Gemini when I figured it was getting confused. And you may have picked up on that. Instead of trying 5 times with Gemini, it actually took me 8 times to record this. I deleted the first 3 because Gemini wanted no parts of what I was trying to do, so it took a while to get going. Now, in my view, when the task got more complicated, Gemini seemed to end the session. Furthermore, it seemed like Gemini was determined to follow a particular way to accomplish a task and was unable to determine a better solution. Put another way, it seemed to lack intuition and reasoning. Now, could Gemini eventually solve this task? Most likely. Yet my guess is most people won't have the patience and seek other solutions elsewhere. So, in the end, do I think Gemini will take away the need for video tutorials? Perhaps for some of the more low-level, simpler tasks, but for the more complicated tasks, it has a ways to go. So, no, I don't think it will. I could go on, but I'm really more interested to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments.